Raymond, thanks for your question. Yes, I am. I am, Raymond. Marla Jurek from Prescott, Arizona. Hi, Marla. Joe, south of Nashville. Bonnie Hoffman says hi from North Carolina. Bonnie, hey, I think we exchanged messages today. So nice to connect with you, Bonnie. And thanks everybody that has your camera on. No pressure for people that don't have their cameras on, but it's really fun to see faces. I mean, we're all strangers. Well, not really. We hang out here all the time together now, right? So great to have you all. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. I am so excited for tonight's call. My name is Trent, also known as Trentytok on TikTok. Appreciate we have almost 100 people on this call already, 95 people here in the live Zoom, 97, 90, 96, 97, 96, 97, 97 in the live call. And this is going out via live stream to other places too. So if you're here, thanks for being here. We started these calls with a goal to change the world. And I'm not exaggerating. We've got something that works better than anything I've ever seen before. It works with predictable results. There's nothing magic about it. It's just pure science. And on tonight's call, we're going to dig into the science and explain why it works so well. Now, to begin the call, I'm just going to give a brief introduction for those of you that are here for the very first time. Let's see here. I'm going to share my screen as I introduce myself. Like I said, my name is Trent, and this is a picture of me and my dad. And my dad was my best friend, my hero, somebody I look up to and just love. 6 years ago, my dad died from stage 4 colon cancer. And when my dad got sick, the cancer, when they found it, it was already all over his body. It was in his liver, his lungs, his lymph nodes. And my dad, greatest guy in the world, but just had the world's worst diet. He was insulin resistant. And that's a term that we're going to make sure that by the end of the call, you are an expert on. I mean, you're going to know more about insulin resistance than 99% of the world. My dad was pre-diabetic, insulin resistant, pre-diabetic with high blood pressure, high cholesterol. He had psoriasis, a very serious skin condition all over his body. And he struggled with his weight. Greatest guy in the world, like I said, world's worst diet. And when my dad got sick, I started to study. I was desperate and panicked, trying to find a way to save my dying father. And so I read everything I could, and I started to learn about fasting. I started to learn about fiber. I started to learn about little things that make big differences in terms of metabolic health. And when my dad passed away, I made it my mission to spread awareness so that your dad or mom or somebody that you love that is maybe still, at a stage where we can catch it, get ahead of it, right? That hopefully tonight's message will resonate with you and resonate with them and can be life-changing, maybe life-saving for many of us. This is the biggest call we've ever done before. We're 4 minutes into the call and there's 120 plus people just on the live stream here on Zoom. So I want to move quickly. I want to set the table for what we're going to do. But first, to begin this call, we have a very special guest tonight, and his name is Joe Wheeler. Now, Joe and I are strangers. Joe and I, for the very first time, connected just minutes before this call started, and so that I could kind of tell him how to turn his camera on, right? But Joe has been using this protocol for a while now, and his story is really something else. So, Joe, to begin, nice to meet you. Tell us who you are, where are you from? Give us a little bit about your background.
Well, I'm originally from Illinois. I live in Tennessee now. Was a truck driver for years. Got out of that about a year ago. Law enforcement now.
All right.
Always been my passion. Always been my passion.
Well, good deal. And prior to starting this protocol that we're going to talk about tonight, where were you at with your health?
In the trash. I was 300 pounds. Couldn't stay away from food. I was so unhealthy, it was ridiculous. My doctor, it came to a point, my doctor said, if you don't stop, you're going to die. That's where I was. It was horrible. And I kind of gave up.
What do you mean by that?
I didn't change anything because I figured I was going to die. So I just kept on the way I was going. I mean, it was nothing for me to sit down and eat a large pizza, like the whole thing. Get some ice cream after that. I was constantly hungry, but I think it was psychological. I don't know, but I couldn't stop. And at that point, it was almost like I felt I didn't want to. It was horrible.
I think what you're saying resonates. I mean, definitely does for me. And so what was it about this? I mean, you were at a state where you kind of thought about giving up. What was it
Mhm.
about this protocol that got you to even consider it and to give it a shot?
TikTok videos. I watched them for about 6 months. I watched your videos. I watched some other folks, and I literally gave a lot of thought to it for 6 months till I finally bought it. August 1st, 2022.
Okay, so wow, so that's like 15 months ago. Wait, no, yeah, 15
Yeah.
months ago.
Hmm.
Okay, so you've been on the protocol. I didn't know that. You've been on the protocol for 15 months.
Correct. I was
Okay.
off for a little bit. Don't get me wrong. I went off for a little bit, but thanks to lovely Yvette, I'm back.
All right. Well, Yvette, for those that don't know Yvette is a nurse and diabetes educator who has helped thousands of people with this protocol. She has been instrumental. Her as well as Shannon Davis, who's a registered dietitian. The two of them together have been instrumental in I'm not exaggerating, saving hundreds of lives with this protocol thus far. And being nurses and dietitians and I mean they've seen it all, they've done it all. And so you started this protocol and tell us where your blood work was at before, where your weight was at before, and where things are now 15 months later.
It's kind of unbelievable. Let's see. I was 300 pounds. A1C was 16. It wasn't odd for me to have a glucose reading of 600. Um, let's see. My triglycerides were close to 300. My total cholesterol was right about 300. I had fatty liver, they told me. Um, that's where I was. Got my results to a few tests today. 15 months later, my A1C is 5. My total cholesterol is 98. My HDL is 44. Oh, no, HDL is 47. My LDL is 44. My triglycerides are 47. And I stopped taking my meds, even though my endocrinologist told me to keep taking them. I told her I didn't need her anymore.
So your
Oh, and
A1C,
my fasting, I'm sorry, is 4.2.
okay, say that again. Your camera broke up just a little bit. What'd you say?
What I just mentioned that my fasting insulin is now 4.2.
Well, so I mean, Joe,
Eh,
you're not on any medications anymore, and your A1C is now a 5. So you went from a dangerous level. I mean, one of the dangerous. I mean, that's a really high reading, 16 on an A1C,
Yeah,
down to a 5, and don't have type 2 diabetes anymore.
not a bit. And I'm 155 pounds.
Joe,
Yeah.
I mean, congratulations and credit to you for the state you were in when you said that you didn't feel like, I mean, continuing to go from that to being brave enough to give it one more shot and to try a protocol like this and then to be consistent, because I know there's no way on earth you're going to get results like that unless you use it properly and are consistent every day. So hats off
Yeah.
to you. I mean, incredible. That is, I mean, you should look at these comments, Joe, that are coming in. Everybody's just
Yeah.
over the moon about
I
this.
can't see them. I can't see them. I'll be honest with you. My eyes are watering. So,
Okay, so
yeah.
let me read some of these. Congratulations, Joe. That's incredible. That's amazing. Awesome. Amazing. Amazing. Way to go, Joe. Incredible. I think everyone on this call is speechless. That's awesome, Joe. Congratulations. You came a long way and you look great. Way to go. Amazing. Yes, says Dr. Tiffany. I love those lab results. Natalie, amazing. Way to go, Joe. Woohoo. Claps, lots of applause. Uh, I mean, just
Thank you.
people saying that they feel you, people saying that they understand the constant hunger. They've been there. This is what an inspiration. The tears are real. Fantastic results. Blown away.
Yeah.
Great job. I mean, Joe, I have hundreds, maybe thousands of people who have reached out to me and said that this protocol has completely changed their life. I don't know if I've ever heard anybody that's gone from a 16 to a 5. That is incredible. I'm so happy for you. Thank you for being on the call. Everyone, I mean, this is what it's about. Remember how I said at the beginning of the call, we're going to change the world? This protocol works fantastically as long, I mean, as somebody does a Joe Wheeler and just uses it properly and consistently. Now, we're going to go a little overtime here, Joe, because this is really special. Your story is really special. But let me just ask, what was it that got you to fall off the wagon when you fell off the wagon? And how did you get back on?
Honestly, I don't know. I had a financial issue that went on for a little bit. It was very straining. And to be honest with you, I could not. I had a choice between life or buying the system, which was tough. And what got me back on it were folks like Yvette, Shannon Davis. I love you ladies. But that's what got me back. It wasn't anything that happened. It was just I knew I needed to be back. And I did, and I'm thankful because I'll tell you what, it works.
Well, Joe, thank you so much. We're going to move on because we have to, but I could stay here all day. And I'm so happy for you. Congratulations and credit to you for being disciplined and for doing the hard work. You're awesome. Way to go, Joe.
Thank you, Trent. Thanks, everyone.
I mean, holy cow, right? I mean, so happy for Joe. Okay, so here's what we're going to do on this call. I want to explain this protocol, explain how the protocol works, and how to maximize your results. I mean, if you want to be a Joe, I want to tell you what you have to do to get Joe results, right? Because that is incredible. Also, there may be some people that are newer to the protocol, or maybe they've been using it for some time who are feeling stuck. Maybe they got results early, but they're starting to plateau, or perhaps they've been on it for 5 weeks, like I was. I was on it for 5 weeks. I felt better, but wasn't seeing any results. So for anybody that has a special question or needs guidance, we're going to have a live Q&A at the end of the call, okay? And by the end of this call, I'm going to show you enough proof that, you know, it will be clear that this protocol works fantastically. And for anybody that you love or care about, people, you know, think of my dad. This is something that, you know, if you tell them about it, they will thank you later. And every week, every Wednesday, we do these calls. We're going to have medical professionals on every week. This week, we've got an awesome guest, and I want to turn some time over to that guest. So if you were to go around the world and try to gather the top experts on metabolic health, the ones that understand insulin resistance and spend, you know, every waking hour trying to fix people that have insulin resistance, trying to improve metabolic health, one of the people that would be among the top in the world, no exaggeration, would be Lindsay Venn. Lindsay Venn is one of the founding members of the Metabolic Society for Healthcare Practitioners. She wakes up and starts helping people with their insulin resistance. And she does that all day until it's time to go to bed. Lindsay comes on these calls each week voluntarily because her passion is helping people with metabolic health. Now, Lindsay's going to be talking about insulin resistance and all the related health problems and conditions that come from it. So if you or somebody that you love has one or more of these conditions, we're going to talk about how to address the root cause of these conditions. But I'm going to turn the time over to Lindsay, and Lindsay's going to share her screen. Lindsay, thank you for being here. We love you. You've got fans on this call, and they want to hear you, not me. So take it away.
Awesome. Let's see here. It says I can't share my screen.
Of course. I mean, why would I give you permissions? I'm so sorry. One second. Let
That's
me
okay.
make you a co-host and forgive me. Okay, you're ready to rock.
There we go. Awesome. Hey, everybody. Thank you. And I will tell you, Joe, you are about impossible to follow because that was an amazing story. Good for you. I wish all my patients had success stories like yours because that was stinking amazing. We've connected, him and I've connected on social media. So it was really good to actually hear all the details of his story. So great job. But I would tell you too, the Feel Great system has been wonderful when it comes to sending me other patients. And though his story is amazingly exceptional, I'm hearing those stories from the Feel Great every single day. So can you see my screen okay? Perfect. Okay. So if you want to find me professionally, you can go to insuliniq.com. I am there and happy to help. We have lots of opportunities there if people want additional insulin resistance help. And so I always like to start with, how do you know if you have it? Or how do you know if your loved one has it? Well, there's lots of signs and symptoms of insulin resistance. There's skin tags. Insulin is a growth hormone. It makes things grow. Skin tags are excessive growth of the skin. And so we have that as an issue. Excessive growth of pigmentation of the skin. This is called acanthosis nigricans, this darkening around the neck. Excessive growth of the visceral tissue in the abdomen. So these kind of pregnant bellies that we see in people who are not pregnant, that is another sign and symptom. Extreme fatigue, which is a complaint I hear all day, every day from my patients. And then this insatiable hunger that just doesn't seem to be reasonable. They eat and then they're hungry again an hour or two later. So if you experience any of these or know someone who does, insulin resistance is likely the culprit. So I like to explain what it is, because to understand why you should do this program or why you should change the foods that you eat, you need to understand what insulin resistance actually is. Insulin is a hormone that is secreted every time we eat. It works in these little receptors, as you can see on the cell down here. Every single cell in the body requires insulin in order to use glucose. These insulin molecules will go up when glucose goes up because we've eaten. They'll get into the receptor. They'll open up this GLUT4 over here and let glucose into the cell. Well, insulin resistance is exactly what it sounds like. The cell has now become resistant to the effects of insulin, meaning insulin will not work here, which means glucose cannot get in here, which causes all kinds of metabolic problems that we're going to discuss in more detail. If you listen to Jason Fung et al., he's a wonderful supporter of insulin resistance and fasting and the benefits of fasting with it. And he compares high levels of insulin, which occur with insulin resistance, to conductors on these subway trains. Their job is to overstuff the trains in order to make the trains go at full capacity. Well, our fat cells, this is what happens to our fat cells. And for those of you who have seen this presentation, stay tuned, because I listened to Ben give a presentation earlier this week, and there's a slide specifically on this coming up, not right now. So what happens is when insulin gets really high, when we have really high levels of insulin, we end up forcing glucose into places it should not be. It should not be in our liver. It should not be in our muscle. None of us want to have excessive fat in our fat even. And so high levels of insulin are the absolute problem. The problem, even in addition to becoming fat, is how we become fat. And so 95% of Americans store fat in the way what we call hypertrophy. That means each little fat cell gets fatter and fatter and fatter, causing more inflammation and causing more chronic disease problems. Hyperplasia, which is the small amount of us, this 5% of people, they just grow more and more and more tiny little fat cells, which is good because those cells are all metabolically healthy, but bad because that's where people become my 600-pound life people. You can grow unbelievable amounts of fat when you grow fat that way. The other problem we have is this thing right here. It's called inflammation. The fat cell does not want to be so full, and so it becomes very inflammatory, and that's what leads to a huge variety of problems. The other problem we have is this has become so prevalent. In 2019, now it's 5 years later. In 2019, only 12% of us were healthy. The other 88% were not, and I would wager that number is even worse today. So why does this matter? Well, as you can see, I've added all these little ones on the side that are over here and over here because they weren't all included in Ben's slide, but every single one of these, I call them symptoms, are what we would call chronic diseases related to insulin resistance. And so the good part here is that we can actually improve every single one of these with one strategy, which is really cool in my opinion. The number one thing, and I'm going to talk about several of these chronic diseases, the most prevalent ones. The really cool thing is, again, you can fix them all. Type 2 diabetes is the most common. It is insulin resistance on steroids. And so this is diagnosed by something that is called A1C, or hemoglobin A1C. If you get to the point where you're greater than 6.5, you're considered diabetic. Well, and as you can see on the slide, well, what happens if you could catch it before then? Well, we don't want to just rely on A1C. Insulin, like I mentioned before, is the major culprit. And so hyperinsulinemia without hyperglycemia is insulin resistance. And so we want to catch these numbers by measuring an insulin level. And honestly, Joe's level was great. We want to be less than 6. He was 4.2. That's an amazing number that you can get by asking your provider for a fasting insulin. You will have elevated insulin for years and even decades before you'll develop type 2 diabetes. The other thing you can look at is something called a HOMA-IR. You take this fasting insulin number. Here's a very common number of 12, and you put it in with your fasting glucose, and it gives you this HOMA-IR. Anything above 3 is severe, 0 to 1 normal, 1 to 2 mild, 2 to 3 moderate. And so it's another measure that we have in order to determine how bad it is. Hypertension or high blood pressure is another one that we talk about quite frequently. If someone has high blood pressure, the chances of them having insulin resistance are very, very, very high. And so if somebody says, oh, I've got high blood pressure, well, no, you probably have insulin resistance too. So I like to explain this. There's 2 things involved with insulin that have to do with blood pressure. A normal person with no high blood pressure is like a garden hose that sits out in normal weather and has normal volume. It functions the way it's supposed to function. Someone with insulin resistance has 2 factors that can increase this pressure. Number 1 is increased volume. Increased insulin increases aldosterone, which is a hormone from the kidney, which will help you hold on to sodium, which helps you hold on to water, therefore increasing volume. Increased volume, increased pressure. Secondarily, we have this thing called endothelial dysfunction. Endothelium is the inner lining of our vessels, our arteries and our veins and things like that. I compare endothelial dysfunction to a frozen garden hose. And so when your garden hose is frozen, it can't flex and bend and expand and contract like it's supposed to. We call that vasoconstriction in the medical world. When your insulin levels are high, you have endothelial dysfunction leading to vasoconstriction. So in this closed system of the body, we now have increased volume. We have inability to stretch or to vasodilate, leading to increased pressure. Lowering insulin will help with both of these things. Coronary artery disease, this is a very, very common one. Everybody's doctor's worried about their cholesterol. There's this old dogma of if you eat saturated fat, it's like pouring hot grease down a cold pipe. Well, that's not true. The number one thing that causes coronary artery disease is insulin resistance. And the thing that you can use when it comes to your cholesterol scores is this thing called your triglyceride to HDL ratio. Take triglyceride divided by HDL. In Canada, you multiply it by 2.3, as you can see down here. I threw on here mine. Again, I still need to get rid of my labs, but if you look at my triglyceride of 84 and my HDL of 83, my triglyceride to HDL ratio would be 1. Normal people, most of my patients come in with a triglyceride at 150. You divide that by an HDL of 50, and you're going to have a triglyceride to HDL ratio of 3. Again, your doctor is going to think these numbers are fine because they're normal. They're not fine. Your cardiovascular risk is quite high with a triglyceride to HDL ratio of 3. We want to be less than 1.8 for sure, and ideally less than 1. Alzheimer's disease is next. Type 3 diabetes is its new name because it has very much everything to do with insulin resistance. I like this topic because my patients are very motivated because they're all very scared, and rightfully so, of this disease. As you can see in this busy image down here, Alzheimer's disease does have insulin resistance to play. It's the inability of the brain to use glucose. If the brain is resistant to the effects of insulin, like I mentioned earlier, then glucose can't get in. The problem is the brain's very picky and it only chooses 2 fuel sources. One is glucose, can't use if you're insulin resistant. Second is ketones. Don't make ketones if you are not on a ketogenic style of diet or if you don't intermittent fast. They've done in vitro or in petri dish studies that show brain tissue does prefer ketones. They feed this brain tissue both ketones and glucose in equal amounts, and the ketones get eaten up first because it is the preferred source of fuel. If you want to learn more about this book is fantastic. Highly recommend for anybody with an increased risk of Alzheimer's. Fertility is something that's near and dear to my heart because I manage a lot of fertility patients. When it comes to fertility, the number one cause is PCOS. So of course, this is in women. PCOS is 100% related to insulin resistance. We all start with androgens and convert them to estrogens by way of aromatase. Insulin shuts off aromatase. We don't therefore have estrogens, we can't ovulate, and we have this problem of PCOS and no ovulation. The other problem that we have is during pregnancy. Unfortunately, if you have insulin resistance and then you become pregnant, which is even more, this is our pathophysiologic state of insulin resistance that increases our ability to grow things. Like I said, it's a growth hormone. Then our babies become more prone to insulin resistance because their pancreas has a greater capacity to make insulin compared to a normal baby. So making sure you control this during pregnancy is important as well. And then for the men, two things that can happen, just like blood pressure. If you cannot vasodilate, that's what leads to erectile dysfunction, obviously a problem with fertility. Or if you look at testosterone, if your testosterone's low, your sperm production is low. And so that also is a problem. So you want to get insulin down so testosterone can go up, so sperm production also goes up. Fatty liver, this is a hot topic a lot anymore. It's funny to me. I mean, it's been around for a long time, but it has definitely become a very hot topic. We now know it is the #1 cause of hospitalization for liver disease. It's above cirrhosis, it's above alcohol, it's above hepatitis C. It's a definite problem. This is what we call ectopic fat storage. And so these pictures here, we make geese. This is foie gras, which is fatty liver of a goose. And cattle, these wonderfully marbled steaks, this comes from ectopic fat that's not supposed to be there being stored in the liver or the muscle. Same thing happens to humans. We can actually cause foie gras of humans if we're not careful with what we do. The prevalence is huge. This is an older slide. I guarantee this number's higher. This number also is only related to the patients who knew it. I did throw on this slide. This is my labs again. I'm trying to be very HIPAA compliant. When you're looking for your own risk of fatty liver, this is the question I get all the time. What am I looking for? Well, you're looking for these 3 markers down here, AST, ALT, and ALK phos. If they're normal, that doesn't mean you don't have fatty liver. These only become extremely elevated when your fatty liver is so bad that it screws up the function. And your liver is like the thing that keeps you alive the longest. And so you have to be very careful. If you're really concerned, ask for something that's called a GGT. Don't mistake this for a GTT, which is a glucose tolerance sense, but a GGT, gamma gluteal transaminase. It's some long word. Ask your doctor for that if you're concerned. It'll be elevated more quickly than the AST and ALT. So this was the other slide I wanted to bring up before. So is my fat healthy or unhealthy? Do I have insulin resistance in the adipose tissue? Adipose meaning your fat. There's now a study or a test that Ben Bickman really recommends, which is called an adipose IR. You're going to take your fasting insulin and multiply it times your free fatty acid. You'll have to probably ask your doctor for both of these, and then see what your result is. For men, we want to be less than 5. For women, oops, that's a typo. It's supposed to be less than 8. Why is this important? Free fatty acids should only be coming out of your fat cells when there's a problem. Again, hypertrophy, this cell down here. Our fat does not want to explode. In an effort to save itself from dying, it's going to do something that it's not supposed to do. So I want you to imagine these balloons as your fat cells. Obviously, there's some small ones here, there's some bigger ones here, but this is our body with insulin resistance, making our fat cells get bigger and bigger and bigger. Well, this is normal. They're going to continue to get big to the point of near explosion. But when there's so much insulin, acting like those conductors in those train cars, then they're going to have like a needle poke. Then you're going to get these little tiny needle pokes in your balloons or in your fat cells that lead to spillage of free fatty acids out of your adipose tissue. This is what indicates you're inflamed, that your fat cells are dysfunctional, and you have extremely severe insulin resistance. The cool part about this is this will detect insulin resistance even earlier than our triglyceride to HDL or our insulin being above 6. So what do we do about it? And Trent's going to talk about this a lot more, so I'm going to breeze through it. We're going to intermittent fast. We're going to follow a low carbohydrate diet. We're going to prioritize our protein. Try not to eat seed oils and processed fats. Keep snacking to a minimum or none, and avoid all of those highly processed foods. Unicity and balance are extremely helpful. Again, I'm going to leave this to Trent in time management strategy. If you want to reach me, this is how you do it. So there you go.
Awesome, Lindsay. Hey, thank you so much. I mean, guys, we are so lucky to have somebody like Lindsay Venn be a regular, frequent guest on these calls. Thank you, Lindsay. We're going to bring Lindsay back in just a second for the Q&A. We're going to get to the live Q&A, but something that is important. If you're watching this and you're thinking, okay, this all sounds good, I've got all these problems, but you don't understand. I fail everything. I have no willpower. If that's you, we're going to show you how to make this so easy. And we're going to show you how to take willpower out of the equation, because I've been there. I'm somebody that my entire life has been on a yo-yo diet. If I'm not on a diet, I am gaining weight. Want to lose that weight, I got to get back on a diet. I was on diets in high school. Okay, all of my friends, we go out to lunch, we eat the exact same food. They're all, fit, healthy teenagers, and I'm, the one I'm the chubby one, right? And I struggled with this for a really long time. And like Joe, I mean, Joe's story was so great. He's been on this protocol for 15 months. I asked him before the call, what do you struggle with? What's still hard for you? And he said, honestly, nothing. Nothing has been hard for me. I used to struggle. Food was attractive. I'd eat an entire pizza. I couldn't stop myself. And now I have no problem, no struggles. So how is that possible? Well, prior to the Q&A, I want to explain how this protocol works and why it works so well. And some people may not get, or maybe has never been explained to them, what we're doing here, all right? So I'm going to share my screen and kind of explain this. Everybody in the world is familiar with white rice, right? But what most people don't know is that wild rice, I'm not talking about brown rice, I'm talking about wild rice in its natural form. Doesn't matter what kind. It could be basmati rice, jeera rice, brown rice, white rice, any kind of rice. Any rice looks more like this. Around every single grain of rice is something called the bran. Now, it's not the kernel, it's not the husk, we don't eat those parts, it's the bran. The bran is the fiber. But we food makers remove the fiber and we only eat the white part, right? This is wheat in its natural form. Food makers take out all the fiber so that they can make a processed product like this. Every carbohydrate, every sugar in nature always comes packaged in fiber. There is not an exception, okay? Every sugar, every carbohydrate in nature comes packaged in fiber. Now, we can debate whether God did that or Mother Nature or evolution. I mean, it doesn't matter what you believe in. There's no debate that every time sugar occurs in nature, it comes with fiber. This apple is sugar and water that has been packaged in fiber. Now, when we juice the apple, we remove the fiber and we end up with sugar water, right? The difference is the fiber. Now, even sugar itself in nature comes packaged in fiber. But what food makers started doing is they started removing fiber from food. You see, there's not an animal on the planet that eats itself to obesity. They don't. Now, you can make a dog obese and you can make a cow obese. Think of, Wagyu beef, right? But the only way to do that is by giving the dog or the cow processed food, okay? So when food makers started removing food from the diet and we started to switch from a, natural diet to a processed diet, we started to get sick. Everyone, not just Americans. This is happening everywhere. 50% of Chinese adults insulin resistant. In the Middle East, everyone's getting insulin resistance. I mean, it is a huge problem. The Middle East is in bad shape right now. But it's because when you take all the health benefits of fiber and you remove it, you're going to lose control of blood sugar, weight control, appetite control, triglycerides, cholesterol, gut health is going to go down the drain. I mean, 1 out of 5 American adults has irritable bowel syndrome. And when you have a damaged gut, you almost always end up with anxiety or depression because of the gut-brain connection, right? So removing fiber from food made us sick. The other thing that made us sick is taking all these fiber-stripped foods and eating them all the time. And this is what Lindsay was talking about. When we take processed foods that have been stripped of their fiber, they spike our blood sugar. So that's the blue line. Every time we eat, our blood sugar spikes up. So then the purple line, the insulin, has to follow it. And we repeat this process enough times throughout the day, and we feel crummy all day. We feel hangry all day. We can eat and eat and eat. Like Joe said, we can eat an entire pizza. We can't stop ourselves. Why? Because all day our body is being bathed in insulin. And when the body is being bathed in insulin, it is in fat storing mode. We can't lose weight, and yet we're hungry all the time. Now, that is not the way the body was meant to work. So when we started eating and snacking all the time on all these fiber-stripped foods, we started to get sick. And so to get unsick, we can simply reverse it. And here's how we're going to do that, okay? Here's how we're going to do that. And after I explain this, I want to explain how to make it so easy. And I'll give you some proof to everybody, okay? But to make it so easy that we can kind of remove willpower. Because willpower is where we all struggle, right? So in a perfect world, if this was breakfast, and this was lunch, and this was dinner, what we would do is, instead of eating all the time, we would actually skip a meal. Let's say we skip breakfast. This allows our body to be in a fasted state where insulin is low, right? And when insulin's low, our body can burn fat easily. We feel great, we're productive, it's awesome. Now, if you say, well, geez, yeah, that sounds nice, Trent, but fasting is hard, stay tuned, right? Then prior to eating meals, if we're, as in love with pizza as I am, and we insist on eating pizza from time to time, which I do, it's my favorite food, right? If we're going to have pizza, we better have it with fiber. If we're going to have rice, we better have it with fiber. If we're going to have processed foods, we really better have it with fiber. Now, fiber is not a license to pig out. It's not like fiber makes calories disappear, but fiber does prevent the blood sugar and insulin from spiking. And so if we could just have a garden salad before the pizza, our blood sugar and insulin wouldn't spike the way it otherwise would. And fiber is very satiating. So by having that garden salad before the pizza, I mean, we're not going to eat an entire pizza. Fiber is very filling. It slows the digestion of food and leaves us feeling fuller for longer, right? Food makers take it out of food so that we'll eat and eat and eat and never get full, which is great for their business, terrible for our health. So this is really, it's simple. Fasting and fiber. When you combine fasting and fiber, amazing things happen. When we stopped eating fiber and we stopped fasting, we all got sick. So just a little bit of fasting and a little bit of fiber, and like Joe, people can get unsick. So how do we make it easier? So this is what we're doing. We know that when we skip a meal, we save $5 conservatively. I mean, you can't get a $5 breakfast at McDonald's or Starbucks, but let's just go with that number. We're going to take the $5 and use it to buy some things that will make it so we don't just have to willpower our way through it. All right, we're going to make it easier. Now, if that sounds weak, then call me weak. But if I can make it easier, then I can maintain, my results. And it won't be a lifetime of dieting, which is what I had experienced for, like 25 years, right? So we're going to take the $5 that we saved skipping breakfast. And when we're skipping breakfast, we're going to be burning our love handles for breakfast. We're going to feel fantastic burning fat. It takes a few days, sometimes a week or two, for somebody to get used to being fat adapted. But man, once your body gets used to burning that fat, you feel great. Now, this is why the body stores fat in the first place, is to have it as an available food source during a fasted state, right? So to make this easy, we are going to sip Unicity. I've got some right here. You fill it up and you literally take a sip every 5 to 10 minutes. Now, I like it hot. I like it cold, to each their own. But when I sip the Unimate, it makes me completely forget about food. I mean, I could fast forever. I'm not recommending this, but I've actually done 5-day fasts with no food whatsoever. And sipping the Unimate, I mean, it is so much easier than would otherwise be, right? So there's been a lot of talk recently. Dr. Andrew Huberman was on Joe Rogan, and this went pretty viral, where he was talking about all these injectable medications, the Ozempics, etc. And he was saying, I don't get it. You can get the same benefit, the GLP-1 increase that everybody's looking for without any side effects from yerba mate. And yerba mate, he talks about this plant that's in South America, and if you can get it in a pure concentrated form, this is the purest, most concentrated form of yerba mate on the planet, and that's why it works so well. Then before our meals, we're going to take a blend of the very best plant fibers that scientists can find for satiety, for blood sugar control, cholesterol control, triglyceride control, and leptin signaling too. I mean, it's fantastic for all those things. I cannot have a garden salad in my back pocket. I cannot have it in my car. I can't have it at my friend's house, just, in a moment's notice. I have one of these in my back pocket wherever I go, so that if I'm going to have a meal, I have this, I chug it right before my meal, and this creates a gel, a fiber gel around the food that you eat, and this makes it so much easier. So I went on this protocol, just as simple as, I didn't really change much else personally. I just simply started fasting, doing some intermittent fasting, having the Unimate during the fast, having the fiber before my meals, and literally, my love handle started to disappear. I started talking about it on social media and to people I know. I mean, this is my buddy, Cody. He was just with me. Of 20 years, we've been buddies. He goes on the protocol, quickly drops 70 pounds and reverses his insulin resistance. People started sending me messages from all over the world. Hey, I've been on your protocol. It has completely changed my life. I love it. It's working fantastically. I'm off my medications, et cetera, et cetera. And, let's just do this. Let's do a little social experiment here. I mean, we got 161 people on the live stream right now. I just want to ask for a favor, okay? Many of the people that are on this call right now, they've not started the protocol. Maybe they're skeptical. This guy's talking pretty fast. Sounds like he's trying to sell something, right? So do me a favor. If you or somebody in your household has been using this protocol, and whether you've used it for a week or a month or a year like Joe, and you have noticed a measurable improvement. Now, I don't want you to exaggerate, okay? A measurable improvement. If you take just a minute and put it in the chat, I want to read some of these, okay? So if you've noticed a measurable improvement that you can say firsthand or secondhand from somebody in your household, take a moment and just put it in the chat. And I'm going to read some of these because I want some social proof here, okay? All right. Deb Saunders, 48 pounds down since August, 6th of the testosterone pellets, so down on her medication, no more headaches. My 27-year-old daughter reversed her severe depression after 3 months of being on the system. She moved out of the house and enrolled in college. I've never seen her like this. Oh, that is awesome. Rod, 1 month, I'm down 14 pounds. My sleep is improved. Awesome, Rod. Daniil, I was like 90 days. Let's see. 1 year later, I'm still 19 pounds down. Way to go. Mark DeFiore. Mark says he's lost 40 pounds. Way to go, Mark. Vernon Scott, down 24 pounds in 8 weeks. Kiabe, A1C went from the 7s down to 5.2. My triglycerides went from 400s down to 77. Best sleep in 20 years. Tracy Haskins, down 25 pounds. A1C is perfect. Lifelong high cholesterol is now perfect. No more high blood pressure. Jeff Lanham, no more neuropathy pain, down 65 pounds. Amory, triglycerides went from 247 down to 56. My insulin resistance score went from a 4.2 to a 0.75, down 2 pant sizes. Shannon Davis, triglycerides went from 250 to 50, and HDL went from 53 to 122. Incredible. Alyssa Grindal, my husband has lost 20 pounds, and I lost 9 pounds in a month. We both feel great. Way to go, Alyssa. Midget Brown, lost 20 pounds, improved triglycerides, normalized my A1C, improved brain fog, energy, and mood. Marla, triglycerides went from 109 to 46. My A1C is now a 5.1, and I've lost 17 pounds since October. Way to go, Marla. Terry, reversed my type 2 diabetes, down 52 pounds in 4 months. Terry, I'm so happy for you. Jennifer Adams, cholesterol down 233 down to 195 since January 2nd. I mean, that's 29 days. In 29 days, cholesterol went from 233 to 195. Amazing. Ellen Hudgens, I'm in my 3rd week. I'm 6 pounds down. I don't feel hungry at all. 2 meals a day. It's great. Way to go, Ellen. Zoom user, been on the Feel Great system since May. I'm off my blood pressure medications, thyroid medications, and metformin. No more migraines. Way to go. Jody, more energy, not as hungry all the time. Hey, Jody, that's awesome. Way to go. Hey, Jody, what you just said is truthfully exactly how I felt about 5 weeks in. I actually hadn't lost a pound 5 weeks in, but I felt better. My energy was good. I was more productive at work, and I wasn't hungry all the time. I was like, what's going on here? Like normally I have stopped and opened the pantry door like 7 times. And today I haven't even thought about going downstairs. What's going on? So that resonates with me. Robin, 13 months in, down 22 pounds, feeling great. Justin Murphy. Justin, hey, what's up, man? I talked to Justin. It works. I've been a year on this and I have reversed pre-diabetes that my doctor told me I had. Denise, lost 25 pounds, reversed my pre-diabetes and insulin resistance. Delonda Durham, my husband's A1C was a 7.5. After 4 months, it's now at a 4.9. Okay, guys, I'm going to read like 3 more. There's 26 more messages for me to read. I won't be able to get to all these. Lisa Schoenfeld, day 5 for me. I've already lost 5 pounds and I have energy and no cravings, none. And I'm usually a junk food junkie. Hey, Lisa, I'm so happy for you, number 1. Everybody else, if you've been on it for 5 days and you have not lost 5 pounds, don't worry. That doesn't mean you're broken. It doesn't mean it's not going to work for you. That's a fast story. In fact, you may have gained a couple of pounds, especially, if you're not used to fiber and you're not drinking enough water, you might have gained a pound in your first 5 days. Don't worry. Hang on, buckle up, just use it properly, be consistent. It won't let you down. Okay, couple more. Down 25 pounds for over 2 years now. No more high blood pressure. Yay. Brenda Felder. Brenda says weight down from high 130s down to 107. My A1C was an 11. Now it's a 5.9. Ubaldo lost 44 pounds in 4 months. No more chronic inflammation. Okay. One more. Keith Bonney. In 66 days, I've decreased my insulin by 64%. I'm completely off blood pressure meds after 47 years. 47 years of high blood pressure, off blood pressure medication. Lost 24 pounds. And A1C went down by 1.1 points. Guys, this protocol is different than anything I've ever tried. And it has the power to save and change lives all over the world. If you use it properly and are consistent, it won't let you down. If you're struggling, if you feel like something's not clicking for you, well, you're in luck. We do this call for you. We want to answer questions. We're not going to ask you any questions. Well, maybe we will to dig a little deeper. I'm going to quickly read a few tips. These are tips from Mind Body Brit, who's awesome. And Brittany has some tips for using the protocol and maximizing your results. So if you are trying to maximize your results, I'm going to read this tip list and then we're going to open it up for Q&A. You can put a question in the chat, but it's really hard to see it because there's a lot of stuff going on in the chat. So raise your hand if you don't mind. You can do the raised hand and we'll bring you off mute and bring you onto the call. So here's some tips. Number 1, if you struggle with cravings, you can have more than 1 Unicity per day. Look at me, I'm drinking one at night, right? Sip on it instead of snacking. If you feel like snacking, sip on this instead. And if you, I'm getting lost. You can also have a Unicity 30 minutes to an hour before eating. It helps with carb and sugar cravings. If you forget to take the balance before your meal, it's okay. You can take the fiber during your meal or even after your meal. It's definitely better to take it and start building a habit than not take it at all. Number 3, if your meal is extra carb heavy, consider having 2 packets of balance before that meal. Number 4, consider using Unicity as a pre-workout. It's great for that, I agree. Number 5, eliminate fruit juices and sodas. Those are never good. We want to avoid liquid carbs. Number 6, prioritize protein and fiber. If you want to eat in the perfect order, have your balance and your veggies, and then your protein, and then your fats, and then your carbs. Take regular measurements. It's common to lose inches first and not weight because of visceral fat loss. Number 8, notice non-scale victories. You know, how's your blood work? What's your mental health like? Your energy, your sleep, your digestion, your poo. Are you fasting longer? Is your skin better, right? The balance is something that we chug. We drink it quickly. You want to drink it before it thickens. Whereas the Unicity is something you sip. And a lot of people really prefer it hot. I like it hot too. Okay. All right, Charles. Charles, your hand is up. We're going to bring you on the line. Go ahead and unmute, and we're ready for your question.
Is anybody else experiencing heartburn with these products?
Yes. There are some people experiencing heartburn with these products. Now, Charles, I have a question, and it's not the product, but question, is it after taking the Unicity or is it after taking balance?
Both.
Okay. Lindsay, do you have a quick response to that? I mean, I'll give you my canned response because I've heard this from time to time.
When it comes directly to the product, I'm not sure that I have anything, Trent. I do know that lowering insulin does help with GERD, so stick with the insulin lowering parts of it, and then go ahead, Trent.
Yeah, so I had a customer that, not customer, I mean, I had a person that follows me on TikTok that ordered it and was trying the protocol and was really struggling with heartburn. And they found that by taking a balance after drinking the Unicity, it solved the problem. So, you know, shortly after having the Unicity, try having a balance and see if that solves the problem. If not, you know, heartburn, this would be an indicator that you've got some dysbiosis, which is a damaged gut. If having more fiber causes a damaged gut, you may consider taking something for heartburn, like a heartburn, like a Rolade, I think, or whatever,
Yeah.
until that subsides. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, excellent question, Charles. It's rare, but you're not the first person I've heard it from. So excellent question. I hope that helps.
It does.
And thanks for turning your camera on. It's nice to see you, Charles. Yeah. Okay, next question. We got Jessica Williams with a question. Go ahead, Jessica.
Hello, good afternoon.
Hi.
I noticed that you mentioned a lot about weight loss, but I am a very petite girl, so I have questions about like weight gain. Like, what are the benefits to gain weight on this product? Because I'm one that struggles with anything I eat. Doesn't matter. I just can't gain weight. But so you mentioned a lot about the weight loss. So yes, that's my question.
Lindsay?
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, so what I would recommend, you're not the only one that has this concern for sure. I love the balance for gut health. And so a lot of times when we are really struggling to manage our weight, it is a dysbiosis thing. And so this helps because it's a prebiotic, number one. Number two, really focus on protein and healthy fats. Protein naturally comes with fat. And so don't go seeking low fat versions of steak or chicken or nuts or nut butters of any kind. Really, really embrace the fat when it comes to your protein source and prioritize those.
Sure. So with the products that you guys are representing, like, does that replace a meal type? I guess I'm kind of confused on, does it replace a meal or does it like help with the meal? Like in my position, like, can I take it and also eat on top of it? When you guys mentioned fasting, that's where I'm kind of confused in my perspective.
Yeah. So Jessica, what I would recommend for somebody that wants to maintain or gain weight is to not do an extended fast, but to do something called the 4-4-12. Okay. Now this is how it works. So after breakfast, so you have your breakfast, you would wait 4 hours or longer until lunch. After lunch, you wait 4 hours or longer until dinner. And then after dinner, we're looking for about 12 hours or longer until breakfast the next day, the 4, 4, and 12. Now, ideally, during those 4, 4, and 12-hour breaks, that would be when you would sip the Unicity and just try to avoid snacking between meals so that we can control give the insulin a chance to come down, right? But you would be able to go with the 3 meals because you're not interested in weight loss. You're trying to add weight, right? And
Correct.
you know, one of the easiest ways to add calories and add weight is to put oil on what you eat. Now, I'm not talking about seed oils. I'm talking about olive oil, right? If you have a salad and you add some olive oil to that salad, that adds a lot of calories to the salad, right? Dr. Ted Naiman, you know, he's a famous scientist, and he talks all about if you put the right types of oil on your foods, that's a great way to add calories.
And
Sure.
Steve Finney says that vegetables should only be used as a mode of getting olive oil into your mouth.
Fair enough. I like that.
Awesome.
well-
Hey, Jessica, thanks for the question. Excellent question.
I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Okay, any other questions?
I saw some in the chat way early on that I would like to address. Somebody had said, does anybody have any documented or video of a CGM result with these reports? I didn't document it, but I've worn a CGM because I will not support a system that I don't believe in and that I haven't actually tried out in my own N of 1. And I actually have some CGMs coming. And so thanks for the idea. Watch my TikTok. I will have some documented CGM results when it comes to balance and feel great.
Yeah, and great question. There are a lot of people who have now taken this in with a CGM and tested it, right? And there's a guy, actually, his name's Darren, who went into Taco Bell and ordered 9 items from the Taco Bell menu and ate them all, and you know, had a CGM on and tested it. And then day 2, he goes back to Taco Bell. He orders the same exact 9 items, eats them in the same exact order. And this time he has balance first, and his blood sugar was dramatically better, like measurably better. So there's been a lot of people that have put it to the test and tried to, like, you know, debunk it, and it works fantastically. And the clinical studies that have been done on this, I mean, you know, those clinical studies were done in a lab with experts, but it's always fun to do the N1, like Lindsay said, and see it yourself. Okay, I'm not seeing other questions. This would be one of the biggest calls we've ever had, and also one of the
Brittany
least
had
questions.
asked one about how come visceral fat doesn't lead to weight gain, loss of visceral fat. I think you must have meant to lead to weight loss. And so a lot of times, those people who are saying, my scale's not changing, I guarantee you your visceral fat is changing. And so the problem with visceral fat is it really isn't a huge component, and there's a lot of other things that go in with that, but that's where the labs really matter. So make sure to get your labs from your doc first, because if your scale's not changing, I would bet you money your labs are, and that's actually even more important.
So great question coming in here. I'm going to hit a couple of these. Kelly Smith says, my problem right now is I used to not have to pee at night, and I'm up to bathroom 3 to 4 times during the night. I've not heard that. Most people that used to do a lot of frequent urination don't have that. But if you're drinking a lot more because you're sipping the Unicity throughout the day, I could see that maybe your body's not used to it. But here's the good news. We know I've got 3 kids, all under the age of 8, from potty training, that once your body starts to get used to the fluids, it will start to get used to a cycle for when to release those fluids without having to wake you up, usually. So, okay, Marcella Jacober has asked my favorite question. I would love to understand why simply intermittent fasting combined with a low-carb, high-fat diet wouldn't work alone. What does the Feel Great system add? This is a fantastic question. So, to be clear, the fasting is doing a lot of the heavy lifting. When we fast, and we can fast for free, we can fast with water, right? Fasting is incredible. And we can get fiber. I mean, why take a fiber supplement? I can just eat a low carb, you know, high veggie diet and get lots and lots of fiber into my diet, right? And that is true. I mean, you can have fantastic results. Now, we've got some studies that can prove that this will accelerate the results. In fact, when you fast with Unicity, the ketones in your blood. Lindsay, do you know what the study, or what, I think Ben did an N1 on himself and said 80%. I don't know what the exact number is, but I think it's 70 to 80% higher ketone levels fasting with Unicity versus fasting with water. Now, that's interesting because there's no ketones in the Unicity. So those ketones are coming from your body, right? But let's just go with that. Let's say that somebody could certainly do this without any supplements, and that's great. For people that have the willpower to just fast and eat clean and exercise, you know, they may not be interested in a protocol like this. But for people who struggle with weight control, people who struggle with snacking, people who struggle with overeating, people who have a sweet tooth, people who have tried lots of times to fast and they do really well on Monday and Tuesday, but by the weekend they are cheating like me, right? this can make it easier. So can somebody just eat clean, exercise fast, and not supplement? 100%, of course. But for people that want to make it easier, that want to buy something that will make it easier, this makes it easier. Great question. Okay. I think we are out of time. It is 7 o'clock. Guys, 150 of you are hanging out with us still, plus all of you, hey, everybody on Facebook and other restreams, thank you for being here. We do this call once a week. We are glad that you're here. We're here to change the world. If somebody that you love or care about is struggling with their metabolic health, invite them some week, invite them next week. They will thank you later. Lindsay, thank you so much for your time and expertise. We really appreciate you. Joe Wheeler, thank you. You are the star of this week. Your story is incredible. He said his A1C went from a 16 to a 5. He lost 155 pounds in 15 months on this protocol. His cholesterol is perfect. His triglycerides is perfect. His HDL is up. I mean, so happy for you, brother. Guys, thanks for being here. We'll see you guys next week. Have a great night.
Thanks, Trent.
Thanks, guys.